Captain Lee Dongwu stood in the command center of the huge spaceship called Soul Pride. His dark eyes stared at the floating message that appeared in front of him like a ghost made of blue light. The alien creatures in the message looked down at him with cold, angry faces. Their words hit him like sharp knives, cutting deep into his heart. The aliens wanted Earth to give up half of its land so they could build their own cities there. They wanted humans to hand over all the smart machines and weapons that took hundreds of years to build. They wanted Earth people to become servants who would obey alien masters forever. The message played again and again. Each time it made Lee Dongwu feel more angry. Commander Park Soyoung walked up beside him. Her hands were closed tight into fists. Her face was red with anger. She had been fighting in space for 10 years, but she had never seen anything this bad. The aliens were treating humans like they were stupid animals who could not think for themselves. Sir, they think we are nothing, Park Soyoung said. Her voice shook because she was trying not to shout. They think we are just dumb creatures they can step on whenever they want. The other soldiers on the bridge heard her words. Many of them nodded their heads. They all felt the same anger burning in their hearts. The Galactic Council had been sending messages like this for many months. Each new demand was worse than the one before. At first they asked for small things like rare metals from Earth mines. Then they wanted humans to share their medical knowledge. Then they demanded that Earth stop building new spaceships. Now they wanted everything. Lee Dongwu remembered when humans first met the aliens 5 years ago. Everyone on Earth was so excited. They thought aliens would be friends who could teach humans about the stars. They thought there would be peace and sharing between different worlds. But the aliens had different ideas. They saw humans as weak creatures who should serve stronger beings. The bridge doors opened with a soft sound. Admiral Kim Tae-ho walked in. His face looked old and tired from many years of fighting wars. His uniform had medals from battles that happened before most of the crew were even born. When he spoke, everyone listened because they knew he was very wise. Captain, I have news from Earth Command. Admiral Kim Tae-ho said. President Choi Hae-jin has made her choice. His voice was calm, but his eyes showed he was ready for war. We are finished trying to talk with them. The council pushed us too far this time. The crew members looked at each other with small smiles. They had been waiting for this moment for a long time. Everyone was tired of being polite to aliens who treated them badly. They were tired of trying to make peace with creatures who wanted to make them slaves. Lee Dongwu thought about his home planet Earth. He remembered the blue oceans and green forests. He thought about his wife and children who lived in a small house near the mountains. He thought about all the humans who refused to bow down to alien masters. They were ready to fight even if it meant they might die. Lieutenant Yoon Min-ho sat at the communication station. His young face showed the same strong feeling that was growing in every human heart. Sir, we are getting another message from the council. They want us to answer their ultimatum right now. His fingers moved quickly over the control buttons. The new message appeared in the air. The same proud alien faces looked down at them. The alien leader had purple skin and 4 arms. He spoke in a voice that sounded like metal scraping. Against stone, humans have 24 hours to accept our terms. If you refuse, we will take what we want by force. You cannot stop us. We have 1,000 ships for every one of yours. Lee Dongwu felt something change inside him. It was like a fire starting in his chest and spreading through his whole body. He looked around at his crew. These were good people who had families and dreams. They had worked hard to build spaceships and explore the stars. They deserved better than being slaves to alien masters. Commander Park Soyoung stepped forward. Captain, what are your orders? Her hand moved to the weapon on her belt. She was ready to fight right now, if needed. The other officers watched their captain, waiting to see what he would decide. Admiral Kim Tae-ho put his hand on Lee Dongwu's shoulder. The council thinks they know humans, but they only saw what we wanted them to see. They think we are weak because we tried to be peaceful. They think we will give up because we offered to share instead of taking by force. They are about to learn how wrong they are. Lee Dongwu looked out the big window at the stars. Each point of light was a sun with planets around it. Some of those planets had alien cities where creatures lived who thought they were better than humans. Some had alien armies getting ready to attack Earth, but humans had something the aliens did not understand. They had the will to fight for freedom. Send them our answer, Lieutenant Lee Dongwu said. His voice was strong and clear. Tell the Galactic Council that humanity says no. We will not give up our land. We will not become Servants, we will not negotiate any more. The time for talking is over. Lieutenant Yun Minho smiled as his fingers moved over the controls. Captain, what should I tell them about our military response? Li Dongwu turned to face his crew. Every person on the bridge was looking at him with trust and determination. These humans were ready to fight against impossible odds. They were ready to stand alone against the whole galaxy if they had to tell them that humans choose to fight, Li Dongwu said. Tell them we have been preparing for this day longer than they know. Tell them they pushed the wrong species too far. The message went out across space, carrying humanity's answer to every alien world that thought they could make humans bow down. The words traveled faster than light, reaching the council chambers where alien leaders sat on their proud thrones. Soon they would learn what happened when humans stopped being nice. Admiral Kim Taiho smiled for the first time in months. The war is coming, he said, but we are not the same humans who begged for peace 5 years ago. We have been getting ready. We have been building weapons they have never seen. We have been training soldiers who know how to fight. Commander Park Soyoung looked at the star map showing where human ships were hidden all across the galaxy. Our families are counting on us, she said. Our children need to grow up free. The aliens think they can scare us into giving up, but they don't know humans very well. The bridge became busy as crew members prepared for war. Communications officers sent secret messages to human fleets hiding in dark space. Weapons officers checked the new guns that could punch through alien armor. Navigation officers planned attack routes that would surprise the enemy. Li Dongwu felt proud of his species. Humans had made mistakes before, but they always learned from them. They had fought wars against each other, but now they were united against a common enemy. The aliens had wanted to divide and conquer, but instead they had made humanity stronger. The die was cast. As old Earth sayings went, there was no going back now. Humanity has chosen to stand up and fight. The Galactic Council was about to discover why humans had conquered their own planet despite being split into hundreds of countries. They were going to learn what happened when humans stopped holding back their true nature. The galaxy would never be the same. Dr. Jun worked late into the night in her secret laboratory. The lab was hidden deep inside the research ship called Bison Hope. Her hands moved quickly over the control panels as she put the finishing touches on her latest creation, the weapon. In front of her looked simple, but it could destroy alien ships twice as big as human ones around her. Dozens of scientists and engineers worked without stopping. They had been preparing for this war for 3 years, building weapons that the aliens knew nothing about. Dr. Bay smiled as she watched her team. They were the smartest humans alive, and now they were all working together to protect their home engineer. Oh, Sungmin ran into the lab carrying a data pad. His face was covered with sweat and oil from working on the big guns. Sir, the new plasma cannons are ready, he said. The excitement in his voice made everyone look up from their work. They are twice as powerful as anything the Council has seen from us before. Dr. Bay nodded and walked over to look at his work. The cannons were beautiful in their own way, sleek metal tubes that could shoot energy beams hot enough to melt asteroid rocks. The aliens thought they knew what human weapons could do, but they had only seen the old simple guns humans used for hunting and sport. Meanwhile, on planet Earth, General Song Hyunwoo stood in the biggest military command center ever built. Representatives from every country on Earth sat around a huge table. They had put aside all their old fights and arguments to face the alien threat together. This was the first time in human history that every nation worked as one. The factories that used to make cars and trucks now built spaceships day and night. The scientists who used to study medicine now created better armor to protect human soldiers. Workers who built houses now constructed space stations that could defend Earth from attack. Every human on the planet had a job to do in preparing for war. Captain Kang Sujin commanded one of the new stealth ships. Her vessel was called Inshin Shadow, and it could move through space without being seen by alien sensors. The ship was small, but it carried enough firepower to destroy enemy vessels 10 times bigger. Special materials on the hull made it invisible to alien scanners. We have spent 20 years studying how aliens fight, Captain Kang told her crew as they prepared for their first mission. Now we will show them how humans fight. Her crew was young, but they had trained harder than any soldiers in human history. They knew every weakness in alien ship designs. The alien races had grown soft and lazy over hundreds of years of easy victories. They always won their wars by having more ships and bigger guns. They never had to think of new ways to fight because the old ways always worked, but humans were different. Humans had learned warfare through thousands of years of fighting each. Other Lieutenant Commander Lim Daeong sat in her intelligence ship listening. To alien communications, the aliens were talking to each other using codes they thought humans could not break. They were wrong. Human computers had broken their codes months ago, and now humans could hear everything the aliens said to each other. The aliens are getting their fleets ready, she reported to Earth Command. But they are moving very slowly, like they think they have all the time in the world. They still do not understand what they are dealing with. Her smile was cold as she listened. To alien commanders making plans that would never work, the aliens talked about humans like they were talking about insects that needed to be stepped on. They laughed about how easy it would be to make humans surrender. They made jokes about keeping human children as pets. The more Lim Daeong listened, the more angry she became back. In Dr. Bay Laboratories, the final weapons were being loaded onto human ships. The quantum torpedoes could punch through any known alien armor. The particle beam rifles could cut through alien battlesuits like they were made of paper. The shield generators could stop alien weapons that had destroyed entire planets. But the most important weapon humans had was something the aliens could never understand. It was the willingness to fight for freedom instead of conquest. Humans were not trying to build an empire or make other species into slaves. They were fighting so their children could grow up free. Admiral Kim Tae-ho visited every human fleet before the war began. He wanted to look each captain and crew member in the eye and tell them how important their mission was. The survival of human freedom depended on what they did in the coming battles. Remember, we are not just fighting for Earth, he told them. We are fighting for the idea that no species should bow down to another. We are fighting so that every thinking creature in the galaxy can choose their own path. The aliens think might makes right, but we will show them that freedom makes us stronger. The human war machine that had been hidden for decades was finally ready to reveal itself. Across human space, secret bases opened their doors and released fleets of warships that the aliens had never seen. Weapons that had been tested in secret were now ready for battle. Soldiers who had trained in hidden camps were ready to fight. The Galactic Council was about to learn a hard lesson. They thought they were dealing with the same weak humans who had begged for peace 5 years ago. They were wrong. The humans they would face in battle were harder, stronger, and smarter than anything the galaxy had seen before. They had awakened something that would change everything. In the command centers of human ships, captains looked at star maps showing alien fleet positions. The enemy had more ships, and they thought they had better weapons, but they did not have what humans had. They did not have the desperate courage of people fighting for their homes and families. The time for hiding was over. The human war machine was awake and hungry for battle. The aliens had pushed too far, and now they would pay the price for underestimating humanity. The galaxy was about to discover what happened when humans stopped being nice and started being what they really were, warriors who had conquered their own world through 10,000 years of war. The Battle of Proxima Station became the day that changed everything. Admiral Kim Tae-ho stood on his command ship watching 3 huge alien battle groups enter the star system. The alien fleets looked like metal storm clouds spreading across space. Each ship was bigger than anything humans had built, and there were hundreds of them. The alien commander sent a message to the human fleet. His voice was full of pride and contempt. Humans, surrender now, and we will make your deaths quick. Continue fighting, and we will make your species suffer for 1,000 years. The alien thought this would scare the humans into giving up, but Admiral Kim Tae-ho just smiled and turned to his crew. Today we show the galaxy what humans are really made of, he said. His voice was calm, but his eyes burned with determination. All ships prepare for battle. Let them see what happens when they push us too far. Commander Hyun Minking sat in her small fighter ship leading Fox Squadron toward the enemy fleet. Her ship was tiny compared to the alien vessels, but it was fast and deadly. Her squadron had trained for years, learning every weak spot on alien ship designs. They moved like arrows, shooting straight at their targets. Fox Squadron, target their command ships first, she ordered into her communication device. Her pilots responded with excitement in their voices. They had been waiting for this chance to fight back against the aliens who wanted to enslave their families. The small human fighters darted between the massive alien ships like angry bees. The aliens expected an easy victory. Their ships were 3 times larger than human vessels. Their plasma cannons could destroy a small moon. Their shields had protected them in 100 previous conquests. But they had never fought humans before, and humans fought differently than other species. Captain No Sung-ho commanded the destroyer Gwangju Fury. His ship looked small next to the alien dreadnoughts, but it had been built with technology the aliens knew nothing about. When the first alien plasma beams hit his shields, they held firm. The alien weapons that had destroyed entire cities barely scratched the human defenses. Sir, their weapons are not as strong as we expected, reported weapons officer Co. Yejing. Her voice was full of excitement. Our new quantum torpedoes are cutting right through their armor like it was made of soft clay. The years of studying captured alien technology had finally paid off. The battle was not going the way the aliens had planned. Their commanders had expected the human ships to break apart after the first attack. Instead, human vessels moved through space with deadly grace, dodging alien fire and striking back with weapons that seemed impossible. Major Yu Jungin led his space marines toward the alien command station. His soldiers wore powered armor that made them nearly invisible to alien sensors. They moved through the corridors of the enemy station, like ghosts appearing suddenly to destroy alien defenders and then vanishing again. The alien commanders could not believe what they were seeing in their security cameras. Human soldiers were moving faster and fighting better than anything in their experience. When the Marines reached the command center, the alien officers tried to surrender, but it was too late. These humans are not the same species. We studied. One alien commander whispered to another before Major Yu captured him. Where did they get these weapons? Where did they learn to fight like this? The aliens had been watching humans for years, but they had only seen what humans wanted them to see. Back in space, the battle was turning into a disaster for the alien forces. Commander Chun Minking fighters had destroyed 6 alien command ships, throwing their formations into chaos. Captain No Destroyer had single-handedly taken out an entire alien squadron. The human weapons were proving far superior to anything the aliens had. Admiral Kim Tai-ho watched the battle progress with satisfaction. The aliens had brought 3 battle groups to crush 1 human fleet. Instead, they were losing ships faster than they could count. All human vessels report status. He commanded into his communication system. Sir, all ships operational, reported his communications. Officer, we have taken minor damage to 3 vessels, but no losses. The enemy has lost over 200 ships and their formations are collapsing. The alien fleet was falling apart as panic spread through their ranks. The psychological impact on the aliens was devastating. They had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years by convincing other species that resistance was hopeless. Now they were watching a supposedly primitive race destroy their most powerful fleets. The foundation of their empire was cracking. As the 6th hour of battle ended, the remaining alien ships began to retreat. They left behind floating wreckage that had once been proud warships. The space around Proxima Station was filled with debris, but not a single human ship had been destroyed. The message was clear to anyone watching. News of the victory spread across the galaxy faster than light. Human communication networks carried the story to every planet where humans lived. On Earth, people danced in the streets and sang songs of victory. Children who had been afraid of alien conquest now dreamed of becoming space pilots. But the news also reached alien worlds where council members sat in emergency meetings. The reports seemed impossible. A minor species had just destroyed 3 of their best battle groups without losing a single ship. The aliens who had thought themselves invincible were starting to feel something they had forgotten: fear. The Battle of Proxima Station proved that humans were no longer the weak species that had begged for peace. The years of secret preparation had created a military force that could match anything the galaxy had ever seen. The war was just beginning, but the balance of power had already shifted. Captain Lee Dongwu received the battle report while commanding another human fleet. He read the numbers twice to make sure they were real. 0 human losses. 3 alien battle groups destroyed. The impossible had become reality. Commander Park Soyoung looked at the strategic map showing alien fleet movements across the galaxy. The aliens are pulling back from their forward positions, she reported. They are recalling ships from all over their empire to protect their core worlds. The victory at Proxima has made them afraid. Lieutenant Yoon Minho monitored alien communications as panic spread through their command structure. Sir, they are asking how humans got so advanced so quickly. Their intelligence report said we were still using primitive weapons. They cannot understand what happened. What happened was simple. Humans had learned from every war they ever fought. They had studied alien technology while pretending to be impressed by it. They had built weapons in secret while negotiating for peace. They had prepared for this war while hoping it would never come. The aliens had made the mistake of thinking that diplomatic humans were weak humans. They confused civilization with softness. They mistook patience for cowardice. Now they were learning that the most dangerous humans were the ones who chose peace but prepared for war. The galaxy would never underestimate humanity again. The species that had conquered their own world despite being divided into hundreds of nations had now proven they could conquer space itself. The Council had awakened something they could not control, and now it was coming for them. Fleet Admiral Han Sora stood in the war room deep beneath Sol, studying the huge galactic map that covered an entire wall. Red lights showed where alien fleets were stationed. Blue lights marked human positions, but something new was happening. Green lights were appearing everywhere, showing species that had declared independence from the Council. The victory at Proxima Station had done more than destroy alien ships. It had destroyed the myth that the Council could not be beaten. Reports were flooding in from across known space as enslaved species decided to follow humanity's example. The Centauri system has declared independence, reported Intelligence Chief Cho Byung-ho. His voice was excited as he read from multiple data screens. The vegan colonies have stopped sending tribute to the Council. Even the Rigel Commonwealth is asking for human military advisors. The Council Empire is falling apart. Captain Moon Jae-sung commanded the diplomatic vessel Seoul Voice, but his mission was far from peaceful. His ship carried weapons and supplies to alien rebels who had chosen to fight for their freedom. The Andromedans are natural warriors, he reported back to Earth Command. They just needed someone to show them that victory was possible. The Andromedans had been enslaved for 300 years, but they remembered what freedom felt like when human weapons arrived in their system. Their rebellion began within hours. Andromedan fighters were fierce and brave. They had been waiting centuries for a chance to strike back at their oppressors. Commander Kanayunji led a special forces team operating deep behind enemy lines. Her soldiers moved like shadows through alien territory, sabotaging supply convoys and destroying communication networks. The aliens are pulling forces from everywhere to deal with all the rebellions, she transmitted during a brief communication window. Their entire control system is breaking down. The psychological warfare was working better than any human strategist had dared hope. The Council had ruled through fear for millennia. They made examples of species that resisted crushing rebellions before they could spread, but they had never faced anything like this. The rebellion was spreading faster than they could stop it. On Hyunsu had been captured during a research mission 6 months earlier. The aliens thought they could break his spirit through torture and imprisonment. Instead, he had been sharing human knowledge with fellow prisoners. When combined human and rebel forces liberated the prison station, hundreds of freed scientists joined the growing alliance. The freed prisoners brought valuable intelligence about Council weaknesses. They knew which alien species were secretly unhappy with their rulers. They knew where the Council kept their most important facilities. They knew how to contact resistance movements that had been hiding for generations. Major Kim Sun-woo worked with newly liberated species to train their fighters in human combat tactics. Each species brought their own strengths to the alliance. The Centauri had excellent sensors that could see through any disguise. The vegans were incredibly fast and could outrun any alien pursuit. The Rigel natives were master engineers who could build weapons from scraps. The alliance was becoming something the galaxy had never seen before. Instead of one species conquering others, it was dozens of species working together as equals. Each brought their best abilities to help the others. The Council had always used divide and conquer tactics, but now their enemies were united. Captain Kang Soo-jin took her stealth ship Ancient Shadow deep into Council territory to establish secret bases for rebel operations. The aliens are so busy fighting rebellions they cannot patrol their own borders properly, she reported. Human ships can move freely through most of their space. Now the rebellion was spreading to species the humans had never even met. Worlds that had been enslaved for thousands of years were rising up against their oppressors. The Council had created their own enemies by treating every other species as inferior beings, worthy only of conquest, and Exploitation Lieutenant Commander Lim Daeong intercepted Council communications showing the panic spreading through their government. The Supreme Council is meeting in emergency session. Every day, she reported, they are arguing about whether to negotiate with the rebels or try to crush all the rebellions with military force, but the Council was discovering that military force was no longer enough. Human weapons were appearing in the hands of rebels across the galaxy. Human advisors were teaching alien fighters how to defeat Council tactics that had worked for centuries. The empire that had seemed unshakable was crumbling. The most devastating blow to Council morale was not military but ideological. For thousands of years they had believed they were superior beings destined to rule over primitive races. Now those primitives were teaching them about advanced technology, superior strategy, and something the Council had forgotten: the power of fighting for freedom instead of conquest. General Song Hyun-woo coordinated the massive effort to supply rebel forces across hundreds of star systems. Human factories worked around the clock to produce weapons for dozens of different species. Each alien race had different needs and capabilities, so human engineers designed specialized equipment for each group. Andromedans needed heavy weapons that could punch through Council battle armor. The Centauri required stealth technology to avoid detection during their raids. The vegans wanted fast attack craft that matched their incredible speed. Every rebel group received exactly what they needed to fight effectively. Admiral Kim Tae-ho established the Galactic Freedom Command to coordinate military operations across the growing alliance. The rebels were no longer separate groups fighting isolated battles. They were becoming a unified force that could challenge the Council on equal terms. The Council tried desperate measures to stop the rebellion. They offered bribes to rebel leaders. They threatened to destroy entire planets. They sent secret agents to assassinate human commanders, but nothing worked. The fire of freedom had been lit, and it was spreading too fast to contain. Commander Park Soyoung analyzed the strategic situation from her command post. The Council is losing control of nearly half their territory. She reported their military forces are spread too thin to handle this many simultaneous rebellions. We have achieved something military historians thought was impossible. We have made an empire collapse from within. The domino effect that started with humanity refusing to negotiate had triggered the largest rebellion in galactic history. Species that had been enemies for generations were working together against their common oppressor. The Council had united the galaxy against them by trying to enslave everyone. As Fleet Admiral Han Sora watched the galactic map, she smiled. The green lights representing free worlds now outnumbered the red lights of Council control. The impossible was happening. An empire that had lasted 10,000 years was falling apart because one species had decided to say no. The battle of the Council throne world would decide the fate of every living being in the galaxy. Supreme Councilor Vextai had gathered the largest fleet in recorded history. Over 10,000 warships from dozens of loyal species surrounded the capital system like a metal storm cloud. This would be humanity's final defeat or the Council final battle. Admiral Kim Tae-ho stood on the bridge of his flagship looking at the massive enemy fleet through the observation window, but he was not afraid. The fleet behind him was different from anything the galaxy had ever seen. Human ships flew alongside vessels from 50 different rebel species. The Alliance had become a force that even the Council could not ignore. The Andromedans brought their fierce warrior spirit and ships built for close combat. The Centauri offered advanced sensor technology that could see through any deception. The vegans contributed incredible speed and maneuverability that confused enemy targeting systems. The Rigel engineers had created weapons that combined the best technology from all their worlds. Captain Lee Dongwoo now commanded an entire battle group, his flagship, leading ships from 6 different species into the final battle. Remember, we are not fighting to conquer, he broadcast to the diverse fleet. We are fighting to free the galaxy from tyranny. The message was translated into dozens of languages, but the meaning was the same everywhere. The space battle that followed lasted 3 days and shook the foundations of reality itself. Council forces had superior numbers, but the rebel alliance fought with desperate courage. Every species in the fleet had suffered under Council rule for generations. This was their chance to win freedom. For their children, Commander Park Soyoung had become the Alliance tactical genius, coordinating attacks between species that had never worked together before. Her breakthrough came when she realized how to combine the different abilities of each race. The Andromedans would charge straight at enemy lines while the Vegans hit from behind. The Centauri would jam enemy communications while humans provided heavy firepower. The first day of battle was chaos as both fleets clashed in the space. Around the throne world, alien ships exploded in brilliant flashes of light. Human vessels darted between massive enemy dreadnoughts like deadly insects. The Rebel Alliance ships moved in perfect coordination while the Council fleet struggled with conflicting orders. Lieutenant Yoon Minho now served as communications director for the entire Alliance fleet. His job was nearly impossible, coordinating attacks between dozens of species. Speaking different languages, his solution was brilliant. He used mathematical equations and geometric patterns that every intelligent species could understand. On the second day, Council resistance began to weaken. Their commanders had never faced enemies who fought this way. The Rebel Alliance used tactics that combined the best military traditions from 50 different worlds. Council ships designed to fight traditional battles could not adapt fast enough. Major Yu Jung-min led joint strike teams made up of soldiers from multiple species. Human Marines fought alongside Andromedan warriors and Centauri infiltrators. Their mission was to capture key Council command stations and prevent the enemy from coordinating their defense. The alien prisoners they took told the same story. Council morale was collapsing as news spread that their invincible fleet was losing to a mixed force of rebels. Many Council species had been forced to fight against their will. They surrendered eagerly when given the chance. On the third day, something unexpected happened. Enemy crews began abandoning their ships and surrendering not just their vessels but their loyalty to the Council itself. They had seen what freedom looked like through the Alliance example, and they wanted it for themselves. Captain No Sung-ho captured an entire Council squadron when their crews mutinied against their officers. The alien soldiers had decided they would rather fight for freedom than die for an empire that treated them as expendable. These humans showed us we do not have to obey tyrants, one alien officer explained when the Council throne world shields finally fell. It was not human Marines who stormed the Capitol building. It was freed slaves from dozen species led by humans who had taught them that no thinking being was born to serve others. The symbolism was powerful and the message was clear. The final assault was swift and decisive. Admiral Kim Tae-ho coordinated the attack from orbit while ground forces surrounded the government complex. Supreme Counselor Vexthai and his inner circle were captured trying to escape in a hidden transport. The 10,000-year-old empire had fallen in 3 days. Commander Chun Minking led the fighter squadrons that prevented any Council leaders from escaping. Her pilots had become legends throughout the galaxy. The same fighters who started the war at Proxima Station were there to finish it at the throne world. The circle was complete. The victory was more than military, it was psychological. The Council had based their power on the belief that resistance was hopeless. Now every species in the galaxy had seen their mighty empire destroyed by rebels who refused to give up. The age of galactic tyranny was ending. Dr. Bae-jun worked with captured Council scientists to understand their technology. Much of it was stolen from conquered species over the centuries. The Council had never created anything original. They had only taken the best ideas from others and claimed credit. The rebels were taking back what had been stolen. Fleet Admiral Han Sora coordinated the massive task of securing thousands of Council worlds. Many surrendered without a fight when they learned their government had fallen. Others welcomed the Alliance forces as liberators who had ended centuries of oppression. The Battle of the Council throne world proved that united free peoples could defeat any tyranny. The Alliance had achieved something that seemed impossible. They had overthrown the oldest and most powerful empire in galactic history, not through conquest, but through the power of cooperation. Lieutenant Commander Lim Daeong monitored communications across the galaxy as news of the victory spread. Celebrations erupted on worlds that had been enslaved for millennia. Species that had forgotten the meaning of freedom were learning it again. Children who had never known anything but servitude were growing up in a galaxy where they could choose their own destiny. The 3-day battle had changed everything. The Galaxy would never again be ruled by a single empire based on the subjugation of other species. The age of the Council was over and the age of freedom was beginning, but victory was just the first step. The real challenge would be building something better to replace what they had destroyed as the last Council stronghold surrendered. Admiral Kim Tae-ho looked out at the stars knowing that humanity had kept its promise. They had refused to negotiate with tyrants and instead had shown the galaxy that freedom was worth fighting for. The Council had pushed too far and awakened something that would reshape the universe itself. 6 months after the fall of the Galactic Council, President Choi Hae-jin stood before the first meeting of the Galactic Freedom Alliance. The great hall that had once been the council seat of power now buzzed with voices speaking dozens of different languages. Representatives from over 50 species filled the chamber, but this time every voice would be heard as an equal. The building itself had been transformed. Human engineers working with alien architects had removed the high throne where the Supreme Counselor once looked down on others. Instead, they built a circular chamber where every delegate sat at the same level. No species would ever again claim to be superior to others. Admiral Kim Tae-ho had retired from active military duty, but his influence shaped how the new galaxy would defend itself. We must never forget, he addressed the Alliance Assembly, that freedom requires constant vigilance. We fought not to replace one empire with another, but to ensure that no empire could ever again enslave free peoples. The old council military had been based on fear and overwhelming force. The new Freedom Fleet was different. It existed to protect, not conquer. Captain Lee Dongwoo had been chosen to establish the Freedom Fleet Academy, where young beings from every species learned not just military tactics, but the principles of liberty and cooperation. The academy was built on a neutral world that belonged to no single species. Students from dozens of different races trained together, learning that their differences made them stronger. Human instructors taught strategy and tactics, while alien teachers shared their own knowledge of technology and culture. Commander Park Soyoung founded the diplomatic corps, teaching former enemies how to resolve conflicts through negotiation rather than warfare. The galaxy was slowly learning a new way to exist, not through dominance and submission, but through mutual respect and understanding. Her first major success was mediating a border dispute between the Andromedans and Centauri. These two species had been enemies for centuries, but the war against the Council had made them allies. Now they were learning to be neighbors who settled disagreements with words instead of weapons. Beijing research stations became centers of cooperative science, where the combined knowledge of dozens of species led to breakthroughs that benefited everyone. The weapons technology that had won the war was being converted into tools for exploration and peaceful development. Her greatest achievement was the development of faster-than-light communication technology that allowed instant contact between any 2 points in the galaxy. For the first time in history, every species could talk to every other species without delay. The galaxy was becoming truly connected. The transformation was not easy. Some species struggled to adapt to freedom after thousands of years of being told what to do. Others tried to seize power for themselves, thinking they could become the new rulers. But the humans who had started this revolution remained committed to their original vision. Captain Kang Soo-jin commanded patrol fleets that protected the borders of free space. Her ships were crewed by volunteers from many species working together to defend liberty. When the Zephyrian Empire tried to invade free territory, they discovered that the Alliance military was just as effective as the rebels had been. The battle was swift and decisive. Alliance forces used the same combined tactics that had defeated the Council's Zephyrian ships designed for conquest could not match vessels built for defense. The would-be conquerors retreated after losing half their fleet in a single engagement. Major Yu Jungmin established the Planetary Liberation Corps, helping worlds that still suffered under local tyrants. Many small empires had survived the Council fall by staying hidden. Now they found themselves facing liberation forces that offered freedom instead of conquest. The Liberation Corps never forced freedom on anyone. Instead, they provided support to local resistance movements and showed oppressed peoples that they could choose their own government. The mere existence of free worlds nearby was often enough to trigger revolutions. Lieutenant Commander Lim Daeong created the Galactic Information network ensuring that news and knowledge flowed freely between all worlds. The old council had controlled information, keeping their subjects ignorant. Now every being in the galaxy could learn about other cultures and ideas. The network became more than just news. It was a way for a species to share art, music, literature, and philosophy. The galaxy was discovering that diversity of thought and culture made everyone richer. Human poets influenced alien writers, while alien musicians inspired human composers. General Song Hyunwoo worked with former council military officers who had chosen to join the alliance. Many alien soldiers had been forced to serve the council against their will. Now they became teachers, helping to train the new generation of freedom defenders. The hardest cases were the council species themselves. Many had genuinely believed they were superior to others and deserved to rule, but exposure to other cultures gradually changed their minds. They learned that cooperation achieved more than domination. Fleet Admiral Han Sora coordinated the massive task of integrating dozens of different military traditions into a unified defense force. Each species brought their own strengths, creating a military more powerful than anything the galaxy had ever seen. The Andromedan warrior traditions emphasized honor and courage. The Centauri contributed advanced technology and precise tactics. The vegans offered incredible speed and mobility. Human experience in combined arms warfare tied everything together into an unstoppable force. President Choi Hae-jin worked with planetary leaders to establish the basic principles of the new galactic order. Every world would govern itself according to its own culture and values. No species would be forced to adopt alien customs or beliefs. Freedom meant the right to be different. The Freedom Charter became the founding document of the new galaxy. It guaranteed basic rights for all intelligent beings: the right to self-determination, the right to free speech, the right to practice their own culture, and most importantly, the right to say no to those who claimed authority over them. Commander Chuneng-king retired from military service to become an explorer, leading mixed-species crews to discover new worlds beyond the old council borders. The galaxy was larger than anyone had imagined, and there were countless species still waiting to be contacted. Her expeditions always followed the same protocol. They approached new civilizations as friends, offering trade and cultural exchange, but never demanding submission. The age of conquest was over. The age of cooperation had begun. Captain No Sung-ho established merchant fleets that carried goods between the free worlds. Trade flourished as species shared their resources and knowledge. The economic prosperity that followed proved that cooperation was more profitable than exploitation. Dr. An Hyun-soo worked with alien scientists to understand the full extent of council crimes against knowledge. They had suppressed scientific discoveries that did not serve their political goals and destroyed entire libraries. To keep subject species ignorant, the Alliance was working to recover and share this lost knowledge. As Captain Kang Soo-jin patrolled the borders of free space in her upgraded ship, she reflected on how much had changed. The galaxy was no longer divided between rulers and subjects. It was becoming something unprecedented in galactic history: a community of free species working together toward common goals. The transformation would take generations to complete. Some worlds still struggled with the concept of freedom. Others faced internal conflicts as they learned to govern themselves. But the foundation had been laid for something better than anything the galaxy had known. The Galactic Council had pushed too far, thinking humanity would submit like all the others. Instead, they had awakened something that would reshape the universe forever: the idea that freedom was not a gift to be granted by rulers, but a right to be claimed by the brave children across the galaxy. Now grew up learning about the humans who had refused to negotiate with tyrants. They learned about the alliance of free species that had chosen cooperation over conquest. They learned that no matter how powerful an empire might seem, it could not stand against people who refused to surrender their freedom. The galaxy would never be the same, and that was exactly what humanity had fought to achieve.